Welcome everyone to Be Create Inspire, where we focus on living a good, fruitful life, full of abundance, full of success. And today I have somebody that's created something really cool. And I can't wait to introduce you guys to Godfrey. Welcome, Connor.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to, telling you more about Rasāsvāda.
Yes, I was about to say, Connor, you've created a really powerful product. And what I love to do in this podcast is, give people ideas and new ways of looking at their health, at their wealth, and, how they create things so that, again, we can inspire others because they're now walking away healthier or walking away with the new, idea to run their companies, their businesses. So you have such a unique product, and I want to talk about the product. And I always like to ask, why and how did you come up with Rasa Spirit?
That's a great question. My journey with Rasāsvāda began about 8 years ago. I would say that I reached a sort of major inflection point in my life. Some might say it was a quarter life crisis, but I like to try to see the positives in things. So for me, it was really a time of dealing with adversity and also going through a lot of deep reflection. But growing up, I was fortunate to be surrounded by Eastern medicine, thanks to my cousin, Josh Kaiser, who started a company called Rishi Tea. And from a very early age, he introduced me to the historic health benefits of, these herbs and botanicals that are used in traditional Chinese medicine, Western herbalism, and Ayurvedic traditions. And when I was going through this challenging period in my life, I really tried to leverage and lean on that knowledge base. So I really immersed myself in, research, devouring everything I could on all these various plants and botanicals that he introduced me to. But I especially focused on adaptogens as well, because obviously I was trying to deal with, grief and stress that I was going through. And I knew what adaptogens could potentially do to help me balance, some of those negative effects out. So I began experimenting in my small apartment kitchen, and, I was blending Josh's teas with either tinctures that I purchased or tinctures that I made. And whether it was placebo effect or not, for me, it really seemed to, make a really positive impact.
Yeah.
And I started to wonder whether or not, I could help others that deal with, periods of adversity in their life along their life's journey, because everyone goes through these times. And that was something that when I was growing up, my father would always say, how you respond to adversity is what truly defines you and your character. And I'm someone that really believes that growth lives in the uncomfortable places.
Yeah.
And for me, I thought, there might be an opportunity to turn my personal experience into something that was much more meaningful. So that's really how the idea for Rasāsvāda was born. And I went to my cousin, and he got pretty excited about the opportunity as well. So as we built the brand, I wound up discovering that I'm actually a 6th-generation entrepreneur, which I was not aware of at the time.
Interesting. I was going to ask you if this was your first company or something. So I'm excited to get into this.
Yeah. So, it really did, maybe it was something that was just in my blood, but really for me, this has always been a desire to help people, much like I was able to help myself, and really try to offer people a more natural way to restore, reset, and sort of reclaim a sense of well-being in their lives.
And so what does Rasāsvāda mean?
So in Sanskrit, Rasāsvāda means the bliss you get in the absence of thought. And in Indian philosophy, it really talks about the sort of never-ending path towards enlightenment, right? Mm-hmm. So when I was dealing with this period of adversity in my life, I'd read a lot of books on Indian philosophy. There was one book in particular called Tantra that is a little bit, the person who wrote it is a little bit controversial. There's a Netflix documentary on him called Wild Wild Country.
Yep.
But for me, the teachings really resonated at this point in my life. And I thought that it would be sort of a very natural fit for the company, given we're focused on helping people on their life's journey. The one sort of downfall of the name, and something that we found out, is that it is a little bit hard to pronounce for some people, but that's okay. We'll get through that.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's the benefits that are going to get people to love it versus having a hard time pronouncing. I mean, I don't, because I'm Latin, but maybe I could see, Rasāsvāda. I don't know. I like it. And it has a lot of A's, and there's a lot of research that brands with A's, for whatever reason, like Spanx, I know it doesn't have many A's, but like, it's just easy, the whole A thing. So anyway,
I wasn't familiar with that, but that's great to hear.
Yeah. I went to graphic design school and marketing, and one of my professors at some point like taught this to us. And so it's just kind of like stayed in my mind for some reason. But tell me a little bit about, so Rasāsvāda has a lot of adaptogens. And, for those of us who are listening, adaptogens are basically, I'm going to call them like little magical ingredients that go into your body and say, you're missing some of this, so let's help that out. Like they're like all knowing, right? Am I correct? They'll adapt to whatever your body's naturally missing.
So yeah, I mean, the premise of them is that they grow in these very harsh environments. So in order to survive, they have to build up this adaptive energy. Yeah. So then you, as a human, when you consume those plants, the idea is that you then absorb that adaptive energy to help balance out, whatever stressors you might be facing, whether it's biological, environmental. So yeah, I think that's a very fair and great way to sort of, speak to them.
Obviously, very unscientific, when I'm like, yeah, they're made of magic. But I mean, that's how I felt. Like I used to drink this like Ayurvedic thing called amalaki like years and years ago. And I never felt better because of the adaptogens. And now like a lot of the mushrooms, like you're saying, so it's really great that we have this wisdom that's coming from the plants, that's coming from nature, that we're able to use. And from, your beautiful introduction, that's what I hear, that like you spent so much time, not just researching, but trying them and making sure that your beautiful product has high quality ingredients that actually deliver results. Correct.
That's the hope. I mean, for me, it definitely did. And we have a lot of anecdotal stories that they have delivered, really beneficial results to some of our clients, which is obviously, it's a very rewarding, feeling. And it further promotes, why I set out to do this, right? To help people. So I'm glad that it seems to be working.
So you mentioned using a lot of these ingredients in Rasāsvāda. Can it really help you with your, becoming more youthful? Because I understand you guys did some lifespan testing.
We did do some lifespan testing, and that's a great question. So we're not at a point right yet where we can say that, these products are going to make you live X% longer. But what we can say is we did do longevity testing with one of the world-leading longevity scientists at Oral Biomedical. And the way these tests work is you essentially test your products on these little microscopic creatures called C. elegans. And they're essentially little worms.
Yep.
And you're probably, looking at me like I have 4 heads, but these little worms share about 2/3 of our genetic makeup.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing that's really cool about them is that they actually have a lot of the same systems that we have as humans. So they have digestive systems, they have muscular skeletal systems, they have, nervous systems, etc. And as a result, that helps us, get a better sense for what something, the impact that something could have on the human body. But what's most compelling about them is that they only live about 20 days. So they're the perfect control for sort of, any scientific test that you may want to do. And what we found was when we tested Rasāsvāda on these C. elegans worms, we were able to extend the median lifespan of the C. elegans worms in the first test by 45% for both our ruby artemisia and black ginger spirit restoratives. But it is important to point out that the control group in that test did not live as long as they typically live. So, as the good scientists that we are, we said we should probably run this test again.
Okay.
And we found that we were still able to yield over 30% results in increasing the median lifespan for both our ruby artemisia and black ginger spirit restoratives on the C. elegans median lifespan. And the thought process is that anything that over 30% should have a positive impact on humans. But again, we're very early in testing here. You start with C. elegans, and then you typically work towards testing a few ingredients to better understand, where the true synergistic benefits and impact is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And then you work to testing on, mice and rats, for example, before you eventually test on human tissue. But given how long humans live, I won't be around most likely by the time we get the answers there.
Now, I have a question, because I think it's so interesting when I speak to founders. And did you know how to do any of this stuff beforehand? Like, what was your, you're like, okay, I want to make this. I'm going to make something that's going to help people, and it's going to look like a drink, and it's going to have these, adaptogenic, good herbs and, all these natural products. And now I have to take it to market. Like, that whole process, like, I'm a big fan of the school of hard knocks. It's not always the most efficient. And as you know, as an entrepreneur, like, it's what teaches you the fastest.
Yes, that's for sure.
But did you know, like, oh, let me go test this thing on C. elegans? Like, where was this knowledge of the almost like step by step from idea to launch?
So what I can tell you with regards to the C. elegans, I'll start there. So our products are based on traditional Chinese medicine and other Eastern medicinal modalities.
Mm-hmm.
So they have hundreds, and in some cases, thousands of years of anecdotal evidence around a lot of the ingredients that we use in our products. But there isn't that much scientific data around a lot of these ingredients from, a study standpoint. So for us, part of why we wanted to do this was to prove out this, anecdotal data that, we've been able to garner. But the reason we found out about all this longevity testing is because one of my teammates is a very enthusiastic practicer of longevity boosting and promoting tactics, and has sort of gotten the rest of us into some of, these other scientific ways of, trying to extend lifespan and most importantly, health span, right?
Mhm.
Because you don't really want to live longer if you're not going to be healthy.
No, right. It's, quality over quantity for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
With regards to your question around how I got started in this and sort of the school of hard knocks, I can tell you that there have been many roadblocks along the way. And I wholeheartedly agree with you that the best way to learn and to grow is, going through these obstacles, as painful and as expensive at times as they can be.
Right. Okay. No, I love that because, when we're inspired to have an idea, and this is why, this podcast, Be Create Inspire, like, who are we being? Well, we have to be quite adventurous. For example, launching an online course is very different than putting together a huge, a huge investment when it comes to material, bottling, branding, distribution, like yourself. So, I'm always so in awe. I'm actually in the process of launching a clothing company, so I kind of know what some of these things are. Of having to put thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars investment in product, and then saying like, I hope somebody will buy it. But we do our best. We do our best, and that's really all we can do. So I wanted to just applaud you because I know the challenge of being a founder. So let's go a little bit back into the actual drink, into the Rasāsvāda, the spirit, right? GLP-1, it's become this buzzword amongst the prescription drugs like Ozempic. So many celebrities are using for weight loss. Now, I saw that several of the ingredients you use are like a natural GLP-1 enhancer. So does this mean that Rasāsvāda can actually help some people lose weight?
So again, I wish it was that easy.
I know. I'm dropping hard questions on you, but I have to.
So here's what I would say about this. So pharmaceuticals like Ozempic, Mounjaro, a lot of the other sort of GLP-1 drugs that are out there are technically agonists. We are not a GLP-1 agonist by any means. What our product can do and what some of the ingredients in our product does is it increases the GLP-1 hormone in the body. And the GLP-1 hormone essentially is what tells your body that it's full, right? And that it's satiated. So we have, ingredients like burdock root and maqui berries, and others that are in black ginger and ruby artemisia as well, that will increase GLP-1 hormone in the body.
Okay.
I can also tell you that we do have anecdotal evidence. We have one story of someone losing 20 pounds when drinking our product on a regular basis in the morning. But again, it's very hard to say that it will happen for every person because every person has different habits and practices.
Yeah, right.
So, but yes, there are GLP-1 enhancers in these products.
And so let's keep going into the ingredients. So this is, first of all, guys, it's a non-alcoholic drink. So it's good for us to know that because I know I barely ever drink alcohol. And when I do drink stuff other than water or like 100% natural juice, whether it's green juice, like I'm always looking for highest ingredients. So what are some, we've mentioned burdock root, black ginger, a couple of things that I can't remember, but so what other ingredients are inside Rasāsvāda that are making it so unique in this marketplace?
So what I can tell you is that our products are made of 100% plants. There's nothing else. we've been able to achieve industry-leading shelf stability of 3 years with no preservatives whatsoever.
That's amazing.
Which is fantastic, given there are a lot of harmful preservatives like sodium benzoate or potassium sorbate that are found in a lot of these products.
Yeah.
But more importantly, what I'd tell you is that we source our ingredients from 6 different continents to make sure that we can really harvest the best of every individual ingredient. And some of these ingredients are wild harvested as well, which can yield, much higher quality results than, organic, for example. The other thing I'd say is I'd be happy to tell you about some of the foundational ingredients if you think that would be beneficial.
I think so. I mean, I know you can't give us your secret sauce, but maybe like the top ones you think are going to actually, really educate our listeners on the, the sourcing, like all that kind of, like, I love all that kind of stuff. Like, like I said, I've been, in the wellness industry for 20 years. So when I'm like, ooh, what is this new product? I'm like, what's in it?
So yes, I will not be revealing any proprietary information today, but I will tell you about some of these foundational ingredients that we use. So I'm actually going to start off with Ruby Artemisia because we call Ruby Artemisia our morning beauty blend. Ooh. It is caffeinated. So if you're adverse to caffeine, I would probably stay away from this one. But from a foundational ingredient standpoint, it has some incredible plants and botanicals and herbs inside. So first and foremost, we have pu'er tea. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with pu'er tea.
Oh, yes, I am.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yes, I am.
So I like to start my day with a glass of pu'er tea because for me, one, first and foremost, pu'er tea helps boost your metabolism. But it's also fermented tea. So it's really good for your gut health.
Exactly.
In China, they typically drink it at the end of the meal because it promotes digestion. So for people that struggle with regularity, for example, pu'er tea or Ruby Artemisia would be a great way to start your day.
Okay.
The other ingredients to call out would be we have red wine grape skins, which were obviously made famous for the resveratrol that's found in them. Resveratrol has long been thought of as this fountain of youth. Polyphenol that has been debunked, but it is still very good for you. It's good for healthy cellular regeneration. It's good for your skin health. Outside of that, we have maki berries, which are adaptogenic. Maki berries are very high in anthocyanins. Anthocyanins are sort of thought to be the most powerful antioxidants. Okay. And just a couple more that I love to call out. We have Kurakoji green tea, which is another fermented tea. So again, you have L-theanine there, so it's good for your brain waves. But also, we have artichoke, which has sort of long been revered as this really amazing, health-benefiting vegetable, right?
Like the actual artichoke, not like artichoke.
Yeah, so we essentially take the artichoke leaves and we cook them down. And then, this last ingredient that I always love to call out as one of the foundational ingredients would be wormwood, which was obviously the favorite ingredient of post-impressionist painters and writers because it's the core ingredient used to make absinthe, right?
I was going to say,
it's always a fun little anecdote to share.
That's awesome. And so obviously there's more ingredients. You said black ginger?
Yes.
Is that like an activator?
So black ginger is actually called the Eastern Viagra. And we are the only, I know everyone gets a good chuckle out of that, but the reason it's called that is because it promotes blood flow to your muscles. Okay. But the other thing that's really cool about it is that it's more closely related to red turmeric than it is to the ginger you get at the grocery store. Okay. So it's super high in anti-inflammatory properties. The other thing that I'd say is it's obviously the flagship ingredient in our black ginger spirit restorative. Okay. And, it's been used by Thai kickboxers. for, its performance enhancing properties. But we also say, it can be your date night cheat code if you want it to be.
I love it. So I don't want to sound like I didn't research your brand before interviewing you, because I did, but it's one drink, right? It's not like you have several drinks that have different properties.
So we have 3 drinks. So we have Ruby Artemisia.
Okay. So okay, good. That's what I thought, because I was like, wait. And then I saw the graphic in my head and there was a bottle and I was like, I don't want to be confused. Okay,
no, I apologize. I was just I know the podcast is only supposed to be 20 to 30 minutes.
It's okay. We can talk as long as we need.
Okay. All right.
And you guys who are listening, listen as long as you want. But make sure you check out the website and make sure that you connect with Rasāsvāda. It's rasaspirit.com. I just want to throw that in there. And just in case you guys have to go.
So yes, with rose bergamot, there would be 2 ingredients to call out.
Okay.
Which would be ginseng and schizandra, both darlings of traditional Chinese medicine.
Yeah.
But it's also packed with antiviral properties and antibacterial properties from the citrus peels and juices that we use to make it as well. So again, 3 products. Ruby Artemisia, that's sort of your morning beauty blend. Rose bergamot, that's your afternoon pick-me-up. 2 p.m., 3 p.m. coffee replacement.
I was going to say your 3 p.m. cafecito. Bring it on.
And then black ginger, which is my personal favorite, is sort of your nightly detox and inflammation recovery promoting product. And that's also because of the burdock root and cardamom and reishi mushroom that's present in there. So just a really beneficial, ingredients for detoxification and for recovery.
And I think this is great because now, I was a health coach for a long time and I always helped people, create rituals. What do you do in the morning that's going to set you up for success? Even as a business coach now, it's like, what are you doing in your day to day that is setting you up for success? Whether it's, in the morning, all I do is get up, jump 20 times on my rebounder, give my kids, a kiss and jump straight in the computer. Whatever works for you. I never put rituals on anybody because everybody's so different. I personally, when I meditate, I like meditating after I already started working. I go outside and I'll sit, take a moment, drink my coffee, drink my tea. That's when I connect. But having a ritual that is either going to activate something in you or help you relax, right? So Rasāsvāda talks about rituals, and this is going to be a twofold question. So I want you to tell about the rituals that you all suggest. And I also want to know if you have any personal ritual or habits that have contributed to your success, to launching this brand, to being, at the forefront of creating, healthy drinks that are, found in so many places. And we'll talk about that in a minute. I have more questions. So let's talk about the rituals first.
So I think rituals play a really valuable role in our lives. While most people aren't really aware of it, or they might not realize it, everyone has restorative rituals that they practice throughout their day that, for some it's yoga, for others it might be a warm cup of coffee or tea, or maybe for my mom, for example, she lights a candle when she gets home every day. But I'd say the most widely practiced ritual is that morning cup of joe that people typically consume. But we really believe that these rituals that people practice are imperative for our well-being. Mm-hmm. And many of these restorative botanicals that we use to make Rasāsvāda have very deep roots in traditional healing practices and cultural rituals. Whether it is traditional Chinese medicine or Western herbalism, or Korean medicinal practices and traditions. Rasāsvāda tries to invite a more mindful approach to drinking, is what I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing, it's really meant to engage your senses and sort of force you back into that present moment.
Yeah.
And really appreciate that. So whether we realize it or not, these rituals help us navigate our days. And when I was dealing with this period of adversity in my life, they were very important for me. So what we try to do is we try to promote finding rituals that you can incorporate into your daily life that will bring you respite and that will help you along your personal life's journey. With regards to rituals that I practice, I think there are a number that I find to be very beneficial for me. But as I said, I think everyone needs to really find what's right for them.
Right.
For me, I always start my day with a cup of tea. That is something that's very important for me. I like to have a sort of quiet morning, drink my cup of tea before I speak to my wife or do anything. And then from there, for me, weightlifting is something that I find to be very beneficial for dealing with stress. Meditation is something that I practice on a regular basis. But the other thing that I really focus on, I'm hyper focused on my self growth. And when you referenced, starting a business and the lessons that it teaches you, I would say that's probably one of the things that I'm most grateful for along this journey to date.
Yeah.
So I think, I'm always trying to learn new things. This year, I'm trying to learn Portuguese, and sort of acquire different skills, again, on that sort of that path. I encourage others to try to find what's right for them.
I love that. And tell me, how many people are on your team in Rasāsvāda? Because I would love to talk a little bit about, growth and leadership, and as that's ultimately, when you have your vision, which maybe you want to share your vision and then share how that vision has formulated the growth of Rasāsvāda. Maybe you probably started with one drink and then, or maybe you didn't. So let's go into that.
Yeah. So we actually launched with all three. I think that was definitely a lesson learned. I think if I were to go back, I would probably launch them one at a time, just so that people could better understand each of the individual spirit restoratives before, moving on to the next. The other thing is that each of the three spirit restoratives are designed and developed. They weren't designed and developed for you to fall in love with all three. The hope was that you found with one or two, that really resonated with your palate.
Okay.
And then through that, you became a customer, for life. These products, because they're based on Eastern medicine, they can be very foreign at first taste. So we say, that you sort of have to try them a couple times before you fall in love with them.
Okay. I was wondering about that actually, because every time I think of like Chinese teas that like my acupuncture has given me, they're always quite bitter. So I was like, I wonder how these taste. So
I would definitely say that, with Ruby Artemisia, that's your most approachable.
Yeah.
It's incredibly elegant. You'll have the notes of the ume plum that we use. You'll have, a beautiful sort of bitterness that comes from some of these herbs like wormwood, angelica, archangelica, artemisia. And you'll also get some of this black lemon and oriental raisin that sort of shines through towards the back end of your palate. For rose bergamot, some would say it's borderline pungent on the nose.
Okay.
Incredibly floral, very bitter because of all the citrus that we use to make it as well.
I was going to say bergamot in general, right?
And then black ginger is our most savory of the range, but it also is the most complex and has the most depth to it. Some people say it's a bit like drinking. Yeah, some people say it's a bit like drinking the forest floor because of all the mushrooms and roots and adaptogenic ingredients that we're using. But I find it to be the most interesting and complex of the range. So there kind of is something for everyone, depending on what you're looking for.
Okay, I love it. I'm glad I asked about that because I was wondering, and you've explained it so like eloquently. I feel like I'm like, it's like wine. You're like a sommelier of Rasāsvāda.
I appreciate that. I'm not sure if I'd go that far, but to get back to your other question around the team structure and sort of the growth and vision and what we've been trying to achieve, we have a very lean team. That's something that I think is really important to find a team that's made up of really dedicated individuals that believe in the brand vision and brand purpose.
Yeah.
And that live the brand themselves. And we're very fortunate that that's our team, really exemplifies that. With regards to my vision for the company, it's always been focused on trying to bring awareness to these ingredients that have been used in other, medicinal traditions and that don't really get talked about enough, in my point of view, in the United States. I think, many people are very quick to take a pharmaceutical. And for me, I'm very holistic in nature. So that's not really the way that I approach things. So I'd like to just try to bring more awareness and help others along their journey. And, getting back to what I first said when we first started chatting, I truly believe that growth comes from the uncomfortable places. And if you can help people, grow from these periods of adversity that everyone faces in their life, then the world's going to be a better place for having products like that in it. So that's really what my hope is, that we can, bring more awareness to a lot of these Eastern traditions while also trying to help people along their life's journey.
Oh, well, it's a beautiful vision. And you've created I think not just, I just used two words that are like off my word list is think and just. So I'm going to rephrase this. You've created a beautiful product that is designed to help people while giving you the joy of being in alignment with the core value of your business. And I think that's really special because a lot of people who are not operating from that place of vision, of mission, right? Of being in purpose, on purpose, for purpose, and they fail. And what you told me earlier that I thought was amazing is that, first of all, I was like, where can I buy this? Can I only buy this on your website? And you're like, no, we're everywhere. So first of all, guys, I'm going to put more information in the show notes so that you can, continue this conversation through their website, their brand, their social media. And also, I love that, you said brand first and foremost. This is off the podcast. And it's true because what you guys have done is that you're setting yourself up to be found by the customers that are going to value your product. And this is, a teaching moment here for my audience. Again, I come from the branding background. I worked in advertising with, these multi-billion-dollar companies like Betty Crocker, Old El Paso, Haagen-Dazs, and I'm the marketing director for TEDx Miami here. And for us, it's always about the brand. Like, what is the core value of that brand? How are we bringing people to be connected to our brand? Whether it's the visual connection, whether it's the messaging connection, whether it's the placement connection. And you guys are doing such a great job by, connecting to us at the Yoga Expo, connecting to people at health food stores. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about where people can buy Rasāsvāda. And then, like I said, we'll put all the rest of the info below.
Yeah, of course. So you can find Rasāsvāda on our website at rasaspirit.com. But we're also sold in most zero-proof bottle shops around the country. We're in a lot of high-end hotels and restaurants. But I would highly recommend going to our website. And there's actually a great zero-proof bottle shop that's opening in Miami called Nolo Miami, where you'll be able to find us.
Amazing.
But outside of that, if you're looking for Rasāsvāda, ask your local bartenders, ask your favorite establishments to carry and to reach out to us, or send them our way and we'll reach out to them on your behalf. So thank you very much, though. And I appreciate your interest in Rasāsvāda.
Absolutely. Like I said, I only bring people on this podcast who are, share the same values, who are, founders, who are creators, because it's like the mind of an entrepreneur is very different than the mind of most people. We're crazy, we're wild, we're risk takers, we're disruptors. And, these are the conversations I like to have. And it's because it's also helping people who might either have this idea or be a little bit apprehensive, because as you know, entrepreneurship brings a ton of risk, whether you're risking time with your family, whether you're risking, a ton of money, investments. So it's so beautiful to be able to have these honest conversations and be a little bit of, transparent, like, yep, so many obstacles, in this way. And look where we are now. You set the company's 3 years. That's amazing. So I want to, first of all, thank you for your time in your busy schedule and sharing a lot with us. And we hope to see you soon. Everybody, please rate this podcast and give us a thumbs up, 5 stars, and please maybe share it with somebody that would be a great listener. So thank you, Connor.
Thanks, Ari.